you again randomly choose a table, please?
Well, we've already got a random volunteer here, so what's your name?
Vicky Stone. I run my own marketing business, Vicky Stone Marketing, plug there. I also run Newcastle Business Mums, which is a business network for mums who are returning to work, and it helps us step up, get up to the next step to networking and events like this. And I network obviously for business as well, to get business in, but also to share advice and just work with other sole traders, to hopefully support each other.
Good, so it's not just about customers, it's about support. Anybody else like to be volunteered? Anybody got a burning need to talk to me? I'm moving over here. They're ignoring me, they're breaking eye contact, and what's your name?
Hi, I'm Hayley Ram.
Tell me how you network.
This is actually my first networking opportunity, so I'm a virgin networker.
She's a virgin networker. How's it going so far?
Quite good, actually.
It's going quite well, and obviously this is a fantastic place to start networking, so good luck with the rest of the day. A gentleman over here has just volunteered, and your name, sir, is?
James Robson. You'll hear from me later about finance, but networking is fun, and I've written down here, it's like dating was when you were a teenager, only you don't get into trouble now. I've been married for 25 years. You don't get in trouble for going out and networking with these new people. Does that ring any bells?
So basically you're saying it's networking without the final push, as it were. Good, thank you very much indeed. Any more?
One more.
One more.
Let's hear where people network. Where do you network?
Where do you network? Volunteer over here. Sir, where do you network?
Mike Hawkins. Networking with a load of friends, networking with individuals from work, contacts, or even places like bars.
Even.
So we've got bars and dating so far. Yep. Good. Over to you.
Fantastic. So as you see, networking happens in lots of different places. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a formal business setting, although there are plenty of business networks, including the Entrepreneurs Forum, out there to help you do that. And before we move on, we're going to hear from our three entrepreneurs here about how and why and where they network. So Charlie, can we start with you?
So I moved back to the Northeast about a year ago, and I didn't really know anyone at all. And I had this business to take over, and so I I had about 5 or 6 friends, and I just, excuse me, that I knew who were working up here, and I've just bounced off them, and I sort of rang people up. I rang up Paul Rubenstein, who ran the Deputy Chief Executive of the City Council, and I said, I've got this sort of chunk of real estate in Byker, and I want to know what I'm supposed to do with it, and have you got any ideas, because you've been running the city for a long time. And strangely, people come out to see you. People, you can sort of go targeted and just ask all sorts of people. I've met about 20 different people from the public sector, because they're so big in the region up here, 70% of the economy, people from One Northeast. Sent an email to Margaret Fay, who runs One Northeast, and had a meeting with her. So I started at the top. and it's been very interesting. And I've met all sorts of people, and I have also found that there are these networking groups like the Entrepreneurs Forum. There's one called Super Mondays. There's another one that I was invited to recently by someone I met on Twitter, another networking opportunity called the Muscle Club. And the Muscle Club meets once a month, and they have an interesting speaker. The property editor of the Journal spoke last month in a restaurant down by the quayside. So quite quickly I've bumped into all sorts of people and got lots of new best friends who are doing all sorts of interesting stuff.
So you started off very task-focused, and then you've broadened your networking out from there.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and then I've sort of given up some of the things that I thought were really rubbish, which you've also got to do if you're going random like I am.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Chris, can we come on to you?
If I want to talk back 5 years to when I first started my business, then in answer to the question, where did I network, it was kind of everywhere. So I went to any networking event that I came across, because at that point in time I was looking for clients and was really just trying to get the business off the ground. But what I found quite quickly was that there are some networks which are going to work for my business and some which weren't. So then I became rather more selective, so that I could put real effort into developing a network in the networks that were going to be useful to me. So I dropped some, kept others. And then as time's gone by, it's been much less about kind of a scattergun approach going to events, although I still do go along to events, but primarily because I think they're going to be interesting. But much more of the network building that I do now is done in Costa Coffee and places like that, because it's much more one-to-one. It's much more about meeting people and asking, you know, for half an hour at a time or an hour at a time, and keep doing that repetitively to build a network.
If I look at the last, to go back the last few weeks, I don't actually have an operational role in my business anymore, so I have to actually think about what I'm doing. But I'm sitting here saying to these guys, I don't really network anymore, but actually I don't think that's strictly true. I consider today being part of the network, it's really great to be asked along to do this sort of thing. And again, I've met some people I've known for a while, and hopefully, you know, I'll be meeting some new people. Last week I went to a evening seminar about the recent launch of the North East Finance for Business, because I'm interested in money for my business to grow my business. And again, there was a whole host of interesting people there, the new fund managers, professional advisors and business angels. So I'd say my networking is quite targeted at the moment. If I look into the next few weeks, I'm going back to my old university. I've been invited to be a fellow of that university. I shall go to profile my business to try and see if I can get any interaction for my business in the sector that I'm in. And also, I'm actually very heavily involved in Women into the Network. I'm a board member of Women into the Network, which is a networking organisation for women in the North East. So I do a certain amount of networking through that as well. So for someone who doesn't do a lot, actually, I think that's not strictly true.
I think it's important to show people that starting a business isn't something that other species do. That there are lots and lots of people who can start businesses, and that includes people like me and you. It isn't just kind of multimillionaires who start businesses, that there are lots of other people who do it. So this brings it kind of out from perhaps some mystique, and shows people that it is possible, and you know, to use that phrase, if I can, you can.
It's a bit of an adventure. You know, are you an adventurer? Are you, are you an escapee or an adventurer? Sometimes people escape environments because they're bored and unhappy and they want to try something new, which is great. And other people are adventurers and they're driven, but they can both result in fantastic things happening.
And I think what was really interesting about all of the stories here is that there was a task. So people, there weren't random networking, it was like, what do I need for my business? So it might be access to finance, it might be employees, it might be new opportunities, it might be about making sense of what changes are taking place within the business environment that person's operating in. So I think when you start thinking about networking, it probably does happen everywhere, but it becomes a mindset, and you're doing it around achieving something very specific in terms of the needs of your business. Yeah? And that might just be about going out and learning. It might not necessarily be about accessing a resource. So in terms of your own ideas, you might start thinking, well, what do I need at this moment? And it might be, well, I just need to know what opportunities are out there. Or it might be, I've got an idea, I need access to finance. It might be, I need some help with some childcare so that I can go out and actually see if I can run that session while somebody's looking after the kids. It might be a whole myriad of things. So start thinking about what you need in terms of moving your ideas forward and where you might get that.